One thing I noticed in the last few days is this has definitely been the most riled up and angered, or I suppose you could say passionate. I suppose you could put it as that the Call of Duty fan base and Call of Duty community has been for a long, long time. All surrounding this whole Modern Warfare 2 Remastered crap. I've said my piece on it. I had a 13-minute rant video on it. I like to think I'm slightly got over it now. Well, not massively. I'm still incredibly disappointed by the fact that they might do that. But my point, that's not really the point of this video. However, it's the reason why I feel like this. I'm making this video. Activision managed to trigger quite a few people yet again today. Today, as of when I'm recording this, on the Tuesday of the week this is going out, by announcing DLC 2, and the reason why this triggered so many people is because they were kind of promised in an Activision stream by an employee of Activision over the weekend that there was going to be a big announcement before the end of the month, and it's going to keep people talking, and you can't avoid it. It'll be massive, and it looks like it might not be still, but it looks like that announcement was just DLC 2 for World War 2, which, considering we expected that to come relatively soon, and we always knew there was going to be a DLC 2 in the near future, I don't think that's massive, can be considered massive. However, it looks like that's what the announcement was, and it wasn't Modern Warfare 2 Remastered, not even a campaign-only Modern Warfare 2 Remastered. It was literally, or it looks like it is literally just going to be World War 2's second DLC. And the reason I'm making this is because the reception of that news was quite... It acted as if World War 2 is either awful or just dead. Now, there's been recent, certainly last few months, there's been a lot of jokes about World War 2 being dead, mainly because of Fortnite and things like that. And now, because people are hyped for Black Ops 4, people want a Modern Warfare 2 Remastered with multiplayer desperately, like incredibly desperately, to the extent World War 2 is, to some people, really been affected. Now, I don't really understand all this. I don't personally understand why it's so in that position. Because as much as World War 2 is not a perfect game by any stretch of the imagination, quite clearly, it's not World War. It's not going to be put in that sort of standard, which is the fairest comparison really in terms of the history of Call of Duty games, because obviously the setting. However, by no means is it a bad game, and it seems to have gotten a really shitty reputation, both generally undeservedly, in my opinion. For Sledgehammer, out of their control quite a bit of it. They didn't know how popular Fortnite would be, even into the months of World War 2. Activision themselves, really. Sledgehammer haven't been helped by Activision announcing Black Ops 3 as early as they did. Sorry, Black Ops 4 as early as they did. And now they've got all this Modern Warfare 2 Remastered stuff, and that looks like that could be a thing, even if it is campaign only. But no matter what, whether that's campaign only or not, that will take a lot away from World War 2. And World War 2, it's just automatically from that, seems to be given this position that it's a bad game, or it's not entertaining or anything like that. And I think this is quite harsh on it, because I'd say it's not perfect, but I would still call it a good Call of Duty game. I think it's certainly one of the better ones we've had recently, if you compare it to Ghost, if you compare it to Infinite Warfare, if you compare it to Advanced Warfare. In some ways, Black Ops 3, and I know people like Black Ops 3, but for me the advanced movement really annoys me, massively. So in that respect, World War 2 is a more playable game for me. I just think Treyarch are much better in terms of keeping you in, and plus they have zombies, and the proper zombies, which I will talk about in a little bit of detail later. But generally, World War 2 I think it's a good game, and I think it was a good way of trying to bring Call of Duty back. It was a good first stepping stone in getting Call of Duty away from the future bullshit and all that crap that no one wanted. First of all, I wanted campaign on this game was pretty good. It's a pretty good campaign, and I know there'll be a lot of people that'll be like, campaign doesn't really matter to Call of Duty anymore. Lots of people don't really care for it, which disappoints me, because I think Call of Duty campaigns generally, aside from Ghosts and Advanced Warfare, as off the top, and Black Ops 3 off the top of my head, the Call of Duty campaigns have generally been really good. I think the whole Modern Warfare series is fantastic. I think those three are the best, and then Black Ops 1 and 2 were fantastic as well. World at War, obviously. Even Infinite Warfare, which in every other aspect is a game I hated, the campaign actually I thought was really good, and if it wasn't a Call of Duty campaign, I think it would have got a lot of praise. Or a lot of praise by a lot more people. And on World War 2, the campaign is solid. It is a solid campaign. It gives you good character development. It gives you a good group of people that you follow and you start to care for a lot. The missions, they're not that different from one another. But it's not boring enough to make you want to stop playing it. You still want to play it for the story. And for me, this campaign was a decent campaign, and I think that should be considered when you're talking about a Call of Duty game, even if the campaigns are getting less and less important and less popular. For me personally, campaign has always mattered in a game, and it always will. As much as again, even with me personally, when it comes to Call of Duty, I do look at the multiplayer and the zombies, which probably will be for the foreseeable future in every game. I do look at that incredibly close, with a lot more detail. I look at the multiplayer in the other mode. However, I do consider campaign as an important part of the game, and Infinite Warfare would be barely a 2 out of 10 without the good campaign. At least, at least that gave it some reason for me to play, and it gave me something to, not regret buying the game. And with World War 2, the campaign's solid. It really is. Like I said earlier, I wanted to talk a bit about zombies as well. The zombies in this game, again, I'm not gonna lie, it's not Treyarch. It's not that good. It's not as good as a Treyarch map. And again, in terms of zombies, I can't really comment massively because I don't have DLC. I don't have the season pass or anything. For me, it doesn't seem like a reasonable investment for me. But this game, as much as I play this game relatively frequently, one, I'm happy with what's on there already. Generally, I don't feel a need to pay for 3 more maps in a season, each DLC pack, and a war map and a zombies map. I'm not into it that much. So yeah, I've only got the knowledge of the Final Reich map. For me, the reason zombies is I stopped playing it, whereas with Treyarch, I actually played the Giant for the first sort of 3 months, pretty much solid between the game coming out and DLC 1. Not because necessarily, the map's the same. It's not like that, but the levelling up system, I think, is the main problem with zombies on World War 2. I don't know if they've changed it much at all, but it just didn't feel. It took forever, and it just didn't feel like it was worth it. Whereas Treyarch Zombies, it did kind of feel like it was worth it. But generally, as a map, it was fun. It's a lot more it's a lot more friendlier with players that aren't necessarily massively into Easter egg hunting. They give you obviously the guide, gives you objectives to complete for one Easter egg. There's another Easter egg, the major Easter egg that the more hardcore Easter egg players can go for, and I think that was a good idea actually. But it just got a little bit stale for me. But as a map, it was a very good map, and I actually think it was probably, for me personally, a better map than Shadows of Evil was. As much as Shadows of Evil, I think Easter egg wise was relatively good. I'm not an Easter egg person personally. I play zombies just to get as far as possible. I might touch an Easter egg or two occasionally, but generally I just play to kill zombies. That's literally it. I play the game to get as high as rounds as possible. That's what's fun for me. I just let other people deal with the Easter eggs, and I catch up on what's going on with that on YouTube or something. So in that way, I actually think World War 2 did a pretty good job, and it was certainly a massive improvement. It was so much better than Exo Zombies, which obviously was the first game to not be Treyarch and have zombies in it, and Exo Zombies was pretty poor. So they've certainly improved in that area. I'm actually going to do a video talking about zombies in games that aren't Treyarch and the future of that at some point. I'll probably play World War 2 zombies while it's on in the background. I might even do it live because I might as well. But that's going to be a video I want to do because I feel like it's a good topic, but we're getting off track there. Generally, the zombies was alright, and so you got the campaign, you got the zombies, and then it's multiplayer. Cannot speak. Multiplayer is the main thing. It's the main mode for most people, and I just don't see why people have such an issue with it. Because clearly people do. They call it a dead game, and they meme it to death on the internet. Clearly they've got a problem with it. I just don't think it's that bad to warrant that. Admittedly, 9 maps. Unless you buy the season pass, you've got 9 maps at release, which is quite small. But I actually, I quite like pretty much. I don't have a problem with any of the maps. As much as I was thinking about this the other day, none of them really stand out. There's none that you can put in a Rust, a High Rise, a Scrapyard, a Nuketown-esque sort of. You can't put them up to that sort of standard. But none of the maps are bad. I know Gustav Cannon triggers some people a little bit, but I actually think I actually don't mind that map because it's actually the most variety in it. It's bigger. Most of the maps are quite sort of small to medium. They're very similar in that sense, and that's something that is a gripe people do have. The maps are very linear. So left, right, middle. Pick whichever flank you want, and I get that to an extent. But for me personally, the maps are replayable. And as I said earlier, I haven't had a need for a season pass, and yet I'm still playing this game relatively frequently. So for me personally, the maps aren't actually that much of an issue. I can see why the maps might be an issue. Like I said, not many of them linear and fairly boring. You've also then got War as well, which I think was a really good thing to add. Obviously, it gave you objectives. It was a bit more longer stretching, and it was able, and still blows my mind how people still don't realise this, but I love the fact that deaths did not matter in that mode, because especially when you're attacking, there's a lot of people that care for KDs, which is pathetic. If you're one of those people, it doesn't matter. Yeah, be maybe a little bit proud of it, I suppose, in terms of, it's no different than aiming for a camo, but if you care so much about KD, no, sort yourself out, seriously. People like that, they would see the death number and they would instantly stop waiting for the objective. People still do, like I say, people still are scared of the objective out of dying, but I love the fact that they've taken the death counter away from like the scoreboard and things and made it not matter. So I think that really helps with people going for the objective, and things like that I think were really good ideas. I think War Mode should certainly be kept in, or versions of War Mode should be kept in for the foreseeable future. I think that's a really good idea. One thing I've just thought of is if they do add a Battle Royale, will that impact the ability to have a War Mode? Because obviously that would be the more longer good duration game mode. Maybe that would affect it, but I personally think War Mode is something that should stay around, or variations of War Mode. Let's keep the game fun. Other than that, they're at this moment in time they're adding to the game a lot. It isn't as frequent as Fortnite, which is one of the main reasons people again use the term dead game to describe World War 2. It's not as frequent as that, but they are adding things. I mean, you're seeing shipment gameplay in the background. Domination XL was added just recently. I'm sure they're going to add more. They obviously had the event for St. Patrick's Day. You have Prop Hunt and Gun Game, which are now added permanently. I'm really hoping for Infected in the near future. I think that would be really good of them, and I think that might actually persuade some people back onto the game. But generally, there are good things about this game, and I think it is harshly treated, and that's sort of the point of this video. I've moaned about Call of Duty a fair amount in the last week. I thought I'll stick up for it, or stick up for one of its games this week, because I actually feel sorry for Sledgehammer, because I think they've made a good effort here, certainly better than their first one, and they're instantly getting shit on, not only by some of the community, well, quite a bit of the community, but the people who fund it. Activision themselves have not helped the situation particularly. So yeah, it's nowhere near a dead game. That's ridiculous. I mean, one of my videos a couple of weeks ago was, is it dead? So I suppose I can't really say I've helped the situation. But it's nowhere near dead. There's a good amount of people still on it. There's a good amount of people that enjoy it, such as myself, and will continue to enjoy it. That pretty much wraps up every point I wanted to make. Comments, leave your view. Are you still playing World War II, or is it dead for you? And why? I'd be interested to see what people have to say. If you enjoyed this and you want to see more similar videos, like, subscribe. There'll be more coming up in like the next week or so. Well, there will for the foreseeable future. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.